Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. The spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened. And then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here once again with Rob and Ashley. It's post-Talladega week, heading into the Roval, and got a lot of stuff to talk about. So how we doing this week?
Pretty good. But Talladega.
Who cares about us?
Yeah,
let's talk about you, Brian.
That's right.
No, we don't have to do that at all.
Here they come. That's right, folks. We got a birthday in the house. They went to the wrong table, but we're gonna assume that's for you.
How many free Ritas do I get with that song?
I ordered a round of buckets of Twisted Tea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Great.
Like I said, they went to the wrong table, so I'm gonna try and flag them down and see if we can get it on this. It's actually a 9-year-old over here's birthday, so we're gonna see if we can get some free drinks off them. But you guys can start talking about Talladega. I'm gonna try and wrangle some drinks for us.
Yeah. So, anyways,
the free drinks.
Yeah, been here for a while. So.
Save the best booth.
Yeah, you gotta get here when they open. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was Talladega weekend. I actually caught more of the racing than I thought I was going to. I had plans this weekend in New York to do some garage sailing stuff, and I got to stop by and see my buddy Tom at 07 Racing Collectibles, which was always nice. But I did end up seeing, I think I saw most of the truck race, and I think I actually saw all the Xfinity race, because Saturday after the big garage sale, I was like incredibly tired after walking 11 miles. So
yeah, I bet. Speaking of the garage sale, you picked up some good shit, didn't you?
Somewhat. Not as much at the garage sale. So for those who don't live in upstate New York, every first weekend of October every year, this town called Warrensburg, just north of Lake George, does quote unquote the world's biggest garage sale, where the entire town shuts down. It's like a garage sale type flea market deal. And I found some racing stuff in the past. Like a couple years ago, I found a Ricky Craven hood and bumper that was sold by a former Tide show car driver. But this year, the only racing stuff I found there was found some really cool beat the shit posters from Morris Racetrack at the Otsego County Fairgrounds, which is a track that ran from like the mid 40s to like 1972. Oh, that's cool. So I think the posters from the 50s. So I love finding old shit like that. But on the way out, aside from Tom, I met a guy who was the son of the Harry Gant fan club president in the 80s, and he had like thousands of shirts. And I could only take 20 from him this time around, but we're gonna be doing business over the next few months. So got a lot of potential stock coming in. So it was a good weekend of buying shit. So
that's awesome.
Can't complain.
Is it 2,000 Harry Gant shirts?
No, although I did know he had everything, like every type of driver from like the 80s to the 2000s. I did get a couple really good Gant shirts, but
he had Corey LaJoie. He had Randy LaJoie.
He definitely did not have any Corey
Classic t-shirts. He had
no Kickball Classic.
Chili's Employee of the Month.
Yeah, Chili's uniforms, aprons, the little discs that vibrate when your table's ready. He had them all.
Yeah. So yeah, bought a bunch of shit, but I did see a bunch of the Talladega stuff. So where do we want to start? Who watched what this weekend?
I'd forgotten that I watched the truck race, but I guess I did.
I just kind of had it on in the background. I was pretty busy doing stuff.
Yeah, same.
I don't remember anything, but I definitely saw most of it. So
I remember Nick Sanchez wrecking a lot.
Yeah, he wrecked twice, 3 times, twice at least twice, which is more than is recommended.
More than others.
Yeah.
I don't even remember who won. Who the hell won?
Grant Enfinger won in his
Oh, right, in the Oldsmobile. Hell yeah, the Oldsmobile Bravada.
Oldsmobile's back.
Victory.
Yeah.
Their
was
first
sick. And,
win since 1992.
Congratulations, Oldsmobile. My first car was an Oldsmobile 88, so it was nice to see the old Delta back in victory lane. It was cool.
I also had a Delta 88. I had my dad paid $75 for it. It wasn't my first car. So my first full year of driving, I had like four or five cars that all cost less than $200. One of them was a $75 Regal or a Delta 88 that had leather, power, everything. Thing was fucking sick for 2 months, and then it shit the bed.
Yeah.
But anyways,
as the $75 car does.
Yes.
It was awesome. I got my money's worth. But speaking of Grant Enfinger, I might as well get this out of the way. Michael Waltrip. Okay, so I don't know what the hell he was thinking in this tweet. He's a big fan. He goes, I told Grant Enfinger he should do this when he wins. Corey Haim has Haim time. Grant could have the end finger. Yeah. And it's a picture of Michael Waltrip's hand with his pinky sticking out, which, I mean, that's one of the worst taunts.
Put the end of that finger.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, I'm sure that was somewhere in
where does it go
on Sunday Money.
Yeah, I wonder if Dale taught him that. My favorite part about this entire thing is the fact that he's literally like standing at the airport. He's like in line in security or some shit.
Just popped into his head.
He's like, I gotta get this on the internet right now, and he did. So, I don't think Grant is gonna pick that up anytime soon. With all due respect to Mikey, but yeah, I guess it's out there, you know.
Mm-hmm. Now,
I think
Grant Enfinger's running for a championship.
That's correct.
Final Four.
Yep.
Good for him. I like his weird Muppet voice. He's an alright guy.
Yeah, I have nothing against him or for him. Yeah. He's just kind of out there, and he's not a child, so I feel a little bit of rooting for him, I guess.
He's a Truck Series stalwart, so
yeah, he's the new Matt Crafton.
Yeah.
Pinky's out for Enfinger.
Pinky's out for Enfinger. Even that's better than what Mikey said and did.
I guess that brings us on to Saturday, which I personally had no trouble watching this race, but apparently CW continues to have issue. I guess you can't watch it on the app, which I don't use the app, so that's not really an issue. And I have to assume there's probably some more college game blackouts that happen in certain areas. Yeah, and I do know, actually, watching it, there were a handful of times where the camera feed was fucked up. Like, they had a few broadcast issues throughout the race.
Yeah, so what was your deal? That's it, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I'll watch it on my phone. And I was like, okay, CW has an app. This is perfect. And so I'm at the wedding. It's 4 o'clock or whenever the race starts. I open the app, and instead of playing the Xfinity race, it is playing the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I was like, perfect. What the fuck? But luckily, Rob had a bootleg streaming doohickey.
Yep.
That I could use instead. So
that's what I have to use. No problem. That's what I have to use. Thank you, Kyle Armstrong, for shipping that to me. Because I did the exact same thing for the Bristol race when CW picked it up. I thought, oh, fuck yeah, there's an app. This is great. And I opened it up, and they were probably showing how to lose a guy in 10 days. And I cussed. And then apparently I wasn't the only person having that problem. But it's not even a college football blackout. It's just that the app does not carry the Xfinity Series broadcast, which is fucking crazy to me. And it hasn't. And they have the other sports on there that you can watch, depending on where you are in the country, I guess. But yeah, that's a big fucking problem, especially for us cord cutters. I don't have it on Sling. I know that like YouTube TV has it, but that's expensive. So yeah, I'm back to watching Xfinity races off of like Polish bootleg websites, which is not something I've done since I started watching Formula One again in like 2009. So it's pretty good for.
You didn't go to Walmart and buy your antenna for $6?
Well, as this race was actually on television, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to really watch it all that closely, I did go to the antenna section. I happened to be at Walmart at the time, and I didn't feel like spending $20 on it.
Oh, well,
I'll just use my stream, and we'll figure it out next year. But yeah, that's.
I still didn't get to watch much because once the ceremony started was when it was like during stage 3 when all the chaos started. So
Yeah.
I mean, it was fine. I'm trying to remember what actually happened. The only thing that really sticks out in my mind is the goofy big wreck that I wouldn't say it was caused by SVG, but it involved him, even though it shouldn't have. Like he got loose in the tri-oval and had to dip down to the apron, but then everybody behind him, like Jordan Anderson and I forget who else, all started checking up. They started wrecking. They wrecked into Shane, who was out of the way, and then just caused a big pileup. So that was that. And
that'll happen.
So, and then I'm trying to think what else happened. There was a wreck that took out, I think, 3 of the JRM cars at one point.
Yeah.
And another one won.
Sammy Smith ended up winning the race. He pulled his best Harrison Burton impersonation out of his ass and got the win there. Went from last in the playoff standings all the way to the top. Sam Mayer actually I think he had a top 5 finish, didn't he? But he ended up getting DQ'd due to the something in the back of the car being fucked up, or it was ride height. He didn't pass the droop check in late model terms.
Yeah.
Which is apparently because of damage from the accident, and I don't know. Junior is pretty pissed about that, and the whole team is pretty pissed about it. But NASCAR is standing on their convictions there, which is hilarious considering how Sunday went down. But I guess we'll get to that in a few minutes.
I will say this, that Sammy Smith does absolutely nothing for me. Like he makes Christopher Bell seem like Kenny Wallace as far as personality is concerned. And I just got nothing for him. Like he does absolutely nothing for me. I mean, good for him, I guess, but I'm not.
Beautiful race car.
That paint scheme is one of the top for me.
Yeah, beautiful race car. But that's pretty much where it stops for me. Yeah, I don't know. Xfinity.
Yeah, I mean,
watch it if you can. But yeah, man, I really fucking hope they figure that out and they're able to get that to folks who are more digitally minded. I know it's kind of ironic to be sitting here in an age where motorsports broadcasting is shifting to be more streaming friendly, but the Xfinity series has gone headlong in the other direction, at least for now anyway.
This whole plan, you would think, I mean, the concept was CW will get more eyes on the product, but it seems like it's like actively deterring people. Doesn't make any sense. And it's also funny because everybody's bitching about, NASCAR is going to Amazon next year, but then there's the CW deal, which is supposed to be like free TV, and some people can't access it. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
If you want to watch a marathon of Mean Girls,
it's there. Yeah.
CW app's got you covered.
Good to know. Well, so then I guess that brings us on to Sunday, which I did watch most of this, or had the radio on in my car, and it was a pretty standard next gen era cup race as far as everybody running in packs of 3 and 4 wide, saving gas for 3/4 of the race until the final stage, and that's again when all the chaos started happening. We had the quote unquote big one of all time,
the biggest one,
which I've heard 25 cars, I've heard 28 cars.
It's 28.
For as many cars as was in it, it wasn't like the most spectacular big one I've ever seen. Like it's kind of just like everybody kind of spun out, and a handful of cars got got damaged pretty good, but no flips. Like all the cars stayed. All the cars stayed on the ground.
Yeah,
so
it seems like the rail thing worked.
Well, they didn't. They did change it up. Like they didn't do the spoiler thing on the windshield, which everybody liked. But the new roof, like I saw the explanation for the roof flaps, and I guess that kind of made sense. It was kind of like a parachute type deal.
Something was definitely different this time because Austin Cindric definitely, when he was sideways, you could see that car kind of bouncing up. Mm-hmm. And historically, at least particularly with this car, that generally means someone's going on their lid, but it didn't happen, which is good. Like you said, it was a big wreck, but not too crazy. Like no major hits. Blaney's wreck was way fucking worse than anything we saw in that.
For sure.
It was more like if you knocked over a display of like cans at a grocery store. Is kind of what it looked like.
Yeah, that's
mess everywhere, you know.
The bigger story that came out of the big one was how NASCAR handled the wrecked cars, which there were, if you didn't listen to the Denny Hamlin podcast, go listen to that because he does a very good job of pointing out all the NASCAR rule discrepancies that were like not followed this past weekend. The one big one was, we talked last week about, Josh Berry getting pulled out of the race with 4 flat tires with a car that could have run the whole fucking race, wasn't even damaged. Whereas this time around, they were pulling cars back to the pits with the caution lights on while the non-damaged cars were stopped and guys were getting to pit road and working on the cars before the active cars were even running. So totally changed their policy without telling any of the drivers. And then also, Elton Sawyer decided to gaslight everybody, explaining, we didn't change the rules. Like, what the fuck, dude? You absolutely, completely did that differently than you have all fucking season.
Yeah, not only did they change the rule, but last week they said they were going to look at this next year, and the rule would stand. The rule, like the actual fucking rule, they changed in real time.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got some great video of Joey Logano screaming at a track guy, I guess in reference to the little jack in the back of the car, yelling at him.
He does that all the time.
It was awesome. Meanwhile, Noah Gragson's just fucking burning out right in front of him, trying to get out of the. Yeah, it was awesome.
And the Chase Briscoe's crew told him to not. Do not let them pull your window down. Like, hold the fucking window down. Do not let them pull you out of the car. Which I don't think that really helped him at all, but it did help Ryan Blaney as far as everybody else that was ahead of him in the points also wrecking out. So,
is there a guy who takes harder hits than Blaney?
Yeah, he's kind of a magnet for those hits.
Yeah, just firewall deep shit, awful.
Knocked the wind out of him, and then they towed him through the grass through the campground also. So.
One of the other things that Denny pointed out was that both the RFK cars had missing roof rails post race, which weren't penalized or anything. So
well, also your race winner was missing the door foam. There's a giant hole in the side of Stenhouse's car, which
there's
is
that too.
Also a problem.
Yep, that should have been fixed, and somehow nobody in the tower saw that. Again, what the fuck is NASCAR officiating doing? So
they were too busy watching his Palmolive foot cam.
Clean feet.
If you guys didn't listen to David, what the hell is his name? Is it David? It's not David Hobbs, is it? The one
David
former
Land?
race director. No.
David
the former
Hoots.
David Hoots, the former race director.
We got there.
Yeah.
Brian,
he quit?
He quit. Yeah, he had to go double check us. But yeah, that David Hoots interview is actually
David.
That David Hoots interview is actually really good. Did you check that out, True Love? When he was on
did not
the
hear
download?
That, no.
It's definitely
that one.
Yeah, it's definitely worth listening to, especially like in the way that he got let go by NASCAR. I don't think I realized that was the case. But yeah, he explains a lot.
Sued, so I don't know, man. It's weird.
Yeah.
Were you talking this whole time, Brian? Because you definitely left us for a good minute.
Brian's gone away, but well, we'll continue here.
Well,
but yeah, he talks about how. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that David Hoots explains all about how there's no real experience up in the tower making these decisions, because him and the other folks that have been there a long time have all either retired or systematically been removed from the conversation. And yeah, there's just nobody up there who really is looking at it in the way that you'd want an official too, and that was just on full fucking display on Sunday. Yep. Absolutely fucking embarrassing. Right. And yeah, I don't know.
Speaking of embarrassing, we didn't mention Daniel Suarez taking himself out and almost taking out BJ McLeod, our favorite boy.
That was cool when he tried to clear himself.
Yeah. And it's funny because apparently if you go back and listen to his radio communications from the race, Spotter didn't tell him to do that. That was all on him. It was 100% him. So
just me amigo,
doing a great job of protecting his spot in that car for 2026 or whatever. But
well, he certainly put himself back in the spot in the playoffs where he belongs. But
it didn't take BJ out, though. He ended up finishing 22nd, so good for him.
Oh, I was wondering where he finished. Good for him.
If you haven't seen the Twitter account, there's one on Twitter. It's just, did BJ McLeod get a top 25?
That's good.
They posted this very cool anime edit where I don't know shit about anime, so I don't know what they stole this from, but it's basically like a little minute clip of some guy's drifting in a car, and like there's one guy who's behind BJ who's like he's gonna wreck, and then all of a sudden BJ just does this like inertia drift, and that's the end of the clip. It's very cool. Like go find that Twitter account and check it out, because we love BJ over here.
We do.
So.
Yeah. You were about to say something, True Love. Sorry about that.
I just want to say my favorite part of the race was when Ross Chastain wrecked. I think it was with Blaney.
Oh, cool. And that's your favorite part.
Well, his car caught on fire, and he was really slow to get out. Like, he was completely engulfed in smoke.
Yeah.
The safety workers trying to get him out. The safety workers completely engulfed in smoke. Ross finally gets out, slow as heck. And I think the reason he was so slow is because he was digging his hat out from... He just emerges from the smoke carrying his Busch Light hat.
Take the boy out of Florida, I guess, but...
He said
he was wearing it in the interview.
I thought he was fucking hurt, like straight up, like injured.
No, in his interview, he was like, "Nah, I'm totally fine. Like this new car is real safe." Like, okay.
What the fuck are you talking about?
He really loves that hat.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. But Danica's least favorite driver, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., getting his fourth plate race win. Which, speaking of plate race, I don't know if you guys caught this, but when I had the broadcast on, I heard Jimmy Johnson call them restrictor plate races still, which warmed my heart a little bit, because I will never not call them that, no matter what.
Absolutely not. Tapered spacer racing. This doesn't sounds like something you gotta get checked out for. Yeah, exactly. Go see your doctor.
But I don't know what else. Is there anything else to say with Talladega? If we thank fuck the plate races are over for the year, and now we just got a couple good races coming up, and then a couple likely mediocre races to finish out the season. So that'll be it.
I don't know, man. I do not like Talladega anymore. Like, I look forward to it so little, and it pains me to say it. Like, I want to go to this place and check it out, but I see it on the schedule, and like with this car, it's just, and it's not just this car. We've been inching towards this point for me personally for a while, and it's just, I hate to say it, but I'm completely over that shit. Especially there, like there's just something about how wide it is, and I'm sorry, people were talking about how cool the 4 wide was, and it's impressive that they don't kill each other when they do that, but they can't pass. So it's just a giant fucking parade of 40 cars, like 10 rows deep. Like, who fucking cares? But I don't know. I don't want to sound like too much of a boomer, but I just Daytona's cool. I'm a little bit better with that. Atlanta's its own thing, and Talladega, like I said, I still want to go there, but just to experience it. But it's certainly not for the fucking cup racing, that's for sure.
That's fair.
Maybe if the Hunt the Front guys are running across the street at the dirt track, I'll be excited about some racing there. But I don't know.
Well, speaking of racing and winners and stuff, so after this weekend, there was some chatter on social media about how and I forget the exact tweet, and I'll just paraphrase it.
Well,
but somebody was like, there were a lot of them, but somebody was basically like, there were 18 different winners this year so far. That's half the field. That's not a good thing. I'm like, I don't think I agree with that, because everybody brings up the sentiment where NASCAR doesn't want to have another Jimmy Johnson. NASCAR doesn't want to have dominance. And it's like, there have been guys with this new car. I mean, you've got Kevin Harvick and Kyle Larson, who both had, 9, 10, 11 win seasons in these cars. And then you go back to the old cars, and you saw Jeff Gordon. You saw Earnhardt. I forget who else has had 8, 9, 10 win seasons.
Martin had a big one too.
There's plenty of guys that only get 1 win a season. So it's like this year, it's like you've got, I counted it. There's 6 or 7 guys with at least 2 wins, and then a bunch with 1 wins. I don't think parity is a bad thing necessarily. I mean, you still have Larson winning 5, who potentially could win 6 or 7, depending on whatever else happens in the season.
Yeah.
I personally don't see it as bad. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I don't care. I really don't care. On its face, I don't think that having that many winners is a bad thing at all. I think it's more the reasoning why we're seeing this, and a lot of these wins are coming out of these situations where we see these races where they kind of run in place for however many laps, and then they wreck at the end, and there's a mad dash at the end or something like that. I think a lot of the frustrations you can pin on that. I don't think that having a bunch of cars that are relatively equally matched and a lot of teams that can fire off and do well on a given weekend, that's not a bad thing necessarily. I think it's just more the reasoning why that people are kind of getting caught up in that. I don't think that 18 winners is necessarily a sign of the sport being broken. No. There's other things for sure that should be raising red flags, but I don't think that there being that many winners. And also, look at who the winners are. They're all very good at those respective racetracks. I just shat on plate racing for a good 5 minutes, but there's guys who are really good at it. Ricky Stenhouse is one of those guys. Harrison Burton's really good at it too. He's, when he doesn't wreck, he's usually in the conversation there. Matt DiBenedetto was good at him too when he was still around. Yeah, I know.
And not to say
Coro Joy is not too bad at him either, even though he can't close.
He led some laps.
He
with
did.
Cody Ware in second place behind him.
But Justin Haley did finish ahead of him this week. He got a top 10.
That's
Corey
good.
got another top 20, but Haley did get, I think, 7.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. But I don't know. How do you feel about it, Trulo? Because like I said, I don't really actually give a shit.
Yeah, I can see both sides. I understand why they're frustrated. The way that Rob explained that, the way that these wins are happening with the chaos at the end. But I like a little variety. That year that the big 3 dominated and won 30 fucking races that year, I wanted to kill myself that year.
Yeah, those.
Yeah.
I was just so sick of that storyline that year. It was just why tune in? I already know who's gonna win. So.
Also, quick
That's
shout
just
out
me
to
being
Kyle Larson, not getting absolutely killed in one of these plate races.
Good for him. And we while we're at that, we gotta say congrats to Denny for his poor strategy working out. He had to take a weird late race 2-lap or 2-tire pit stop or something, and he was a mile behind the big one and managed to get through that and get in the top 10. So he saved his season while we're at it too. So
if anything, Talladega was just God righting all of the wrongs that we've experienced previously.
That's fair. That is fair.
You look at the top 8 right now. Who is it? Chase is up there, right? I think he didn't get hurt too bad by Talladega since he's had some good runs leading into this. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, he's still in the top 8, so.
Yeah. That's it could be worse.
I feel like the bottom 4 right now should stay the bottom 4.
I agree.
I don't see that changing unless somehow either Suarez or Briscoe pull it out of their ass and get a win, which I don't see Suarez doing that. There's a very slim chance Briscoe could, but very slim.
They're both good at road racing, so you never know.
That's true. So moving on to less fun news, all the hurricane relief in the Carolinas is still continuing. And there's probably going to be some relief needed in Florida in the next couple days. But
it seems like it.
Greg Biffle is doing a kick-ass job of continuing to help. That guy has to win some sort of award or medal or something. At the
he
end
needs
of
to
this year
get decorated
because,
for this. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, he's been going nonstop.
He's still out there.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, these places, it's gonna take years of recovery. Like, it's not like, oh, here's some damage here and here's some damage there. It's like their entire civilization has been uprooted and destroyed. So
I mean, even I-40 between Johnson City and Nashville, it's going to be closed through at least this time next year. And if you look on Google Maps, which a friend of the program, Kyle Armstrong, pointed out to me, Google Maps says 2028, which I don't know how true that is, but a major highway being shut down for over a year, like one of the highways in the United States, that should, if you haven't figured out how bad it is already, that should tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks again to anyone if you did follow any of the links that True Love posted on our Instagram and donated your money or anything like that, or dropped off supplies. It's been really heartwarming to see the racing community come together. Pretty much every racetrack I know of has some sort of drop-off point set up, which, by the way, I'm going to Thompson this weekend. The Tri-Track Series and Kyle Bonsignor are kind of spearheading something there. I'm going to be bringing some supplies down to drop off there. I might post a Venmo or something. You want to send me some money so I can hit BJ's up and get some more, but we'll see. But either way, there's a lot of good causes out there, particularly Greg Biffle's helicopter gas account, because he's been burning Jet A fuel for a few days now, and that shit is expensive. But yeah,
there's still so many people trapped in remote areas, like on top of mountains that are only accessible by air. So he's really doing the Lord's work.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just heartbreaking to see. And we said it last week, and we're going to say it for the next few weeks. We still don't know the true extent of how bad this is, but I'm real proud to be part of a community that has come together and set up so many grassroots fundraising organizations and drives, and so many people I know putting their time and effort into it. It's really awesome to see that happen. So good job, guys.
Yeah. Moving back onto more, I don't want to say interesting news, but I mean at least more topical stuff.
Yeah.
What?
Skip over Ryan Priest's dog.
Oh, that's right.
We missed that's the one thing we missed. Ryan Priest brought his dog to Talladega, which as a dog person, that's always cool. But
took it on a tour of the infield.
Yep, and somebody got a photo with Priest and the dog is sniffing his crotch. So
just buried deep in that man's crotch.
I mean, hey, listen, if you meet as many dogs as I do, you get sniffed places. It just happens.
That's where it's gonna go. Yeah, that's where the nose goes. Yeah.
Speaking of dogs at Talladega, SVG brought his dog to Talladega, and Corey LaJoy posted a picture of SVG's dog taking a dump, and the title was The Big One at Talladega. So that's good. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, +1 to Corey.
There you go.
Yeah.
But anyway, so back to more NASCAR news. Obviously, a bit more came out about the antitrust lawsuit stuff today, or yesterday actually. 2311 and Front Row filed their injunctions to keep their charters through the 2025 season as this lawsuit continues on. NASCAR has still yet to make any sort of statement about this lawsuit, although they did announce Chris Yates is going to be their attorney. I don't know anything about him, but he's certainly got a battle up ahead of him.
Yeah, he's worked with I forget who it was. He's done some work with the NCAA, I believe. I don't know if he's as decorated as who 2311 and Front Row have picked up, but he's pretty weighty himself.
I saw that this lawyer that NASCAR hired has gone up against the lawyer that Hamlin and them hired before, and this Chris Yates lost to that guy. So.
I was gonna say, like, if he was involved in the NCAA stuff, I'm pretty sure that Hamlin's lawyer won those. So I don't think don't know if that was the right move, but I guess we'll see that play out over the years.
You can't get number one, you get number two.
I guess. And over the weekend, I mean, didn't hear too many interesting comments from too many people about it at the track, although Pop did chime in and he was kind of supportive without necessarily being outwardly supportive. You could tell like he's kind of on Denny's side, and he's kind of, he's had his battles with NASCAR over the years, and he straight up said like NASCAR forced us to sign this, and I didn't want to lose my charters, and again, he definitely does not have the resources that Michael and Denny have. So
I think though the interesting thing that came out of that Bob Pockris interview, again, it's real short. It's on Twitter if you want to check it out. But he really just confirmed a lot of the rumors we had heard. We hadn't heard any confirmation about, we got the contract at 6 p.m. We had to sign by midnight. Didn't even have time to have our lawyers take a look at it, but we signed because we didn't want to, lose employees or let our sponsors down or whatever, and that's kind of what we'd all heard, but it was interesting to hear it directly from the horse's mouth, or from Pop's mouth. Pop the horse. It was nothing too. I guess one thing I didn't add to the notes here that came out after I put these together. NASCAR, or I'm sorry, I think it was Bob Pockris put these out there. There are some letters that went back and forth between 2311 and NASCAR concerning them not signing the charter agreement. Basically, 2311 saying, "Here's why we're not doing it," and then NASCAR kind of responding and was like, "Well, we did this, and this." It's just kind of like this back and forth, he said, she said kind of shit. They are interesting to read. Again, those are also on Twitter. I believe it was Bob Pockris who doing the Lord's work and posting all the documents and shit.
Yeah, they're all there.
But nothing really new, like you said. But there's a lot of if you're bored and a nerd, there's a lot to dig into here, and you can kind of see how these cases might be presented as they move forward based on the language of those letters alone. Yeah,
the Kessler was on Dale Jr.'s podcast too last week, and he was saying that if it goes to trial, probably won't be for another 1.5 to 2 years. So that's a lot of time. A lot of stuff could happen between now and then. So we'll be paying attention to it, but somebody else will be paying attention to it, and hopefully getting involved in is Jeremy Mayfield.
Yeah, he's raring to go, buddy.
He's got going for him in life. Right?
He very much wants to participate and testify, and he's trying to get a hold of Denny's lawyer, which he tweeted out like, "Who is the lawyer? Give me like, motherfucker, like his name is everywhere. How do you not know how to find that?" But
I get the feeling that maybe they don't want him as their star witness.
Might want to distance themselves.
I'm no legal expert or anything, but if I were Mr. Kessler, I might not be picking up Mr. Mayfield's call either.
Listen, I very much want him to be involved somehow in this case, so I hope it happens.
Yeah. Judge Judy shit would be great.
Let's see here. Moving on to that, more tumultuous news out of the Legacy Motorsports camp. After scoring their first top 5 of the season with Eric Jones, his crew chief, Dave Ellens, was let go from the team. And then Ben Bayshore is going to be filling in for him. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily going to help too much over there, but
the firings will continue until 3/10 of pace have been found, it seems.
Yeah.
What a mess that team is, though. Holy shit.
It's sad. It's just sad.
Yep.
Eric
then we've got
better.
Speaking of potential trials.
The Nelly thing? Why would Nelly go on trial?
He's a sex pest.
Is he?
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can't keep up these days.
Look that shit up, buddy. But yeah, instead of getting Tim Duggar for the big concert at the Phoenix Championship weekend, they've got Nelly. So,
I did see Nelly perform at the Roval a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Just very topical. Let's get an early 2000s rapper for 2024 NASCAR.
Yeah, I don't think he's involved with any of the freak off action or anything like that, but he's certainly got his own rape allegations against him.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, very, very, very cool to keep giving that guy a fucking platform. Whatever.
I mean, fuck, man. How much Gucci Mane NASCAR presses there been? Get fucking Gucci out there. He only went to jail for drugs. That's fine.
That's fine.
That's cool.
I'm fine with that.
Moving on, Rob, you'll have to take the lead on this one because I don't really care too much about it. But IndyCar is coming to Dallas, and they're going to run outside the football stadium. That sounds cool.
They're running out. It's actually like a 2.5 mile road course that goes around both stadiums in Arlington. Roger Penske is putting this together, and he's got Jerry Jones from the Cowboys, and the ownership group from the Texas Rangers are also in there. So that's actually a huge pickup for IndyCar. Kind of a shame when you already have one of the better ovals in the United States for IndyCar anyway, and in Texas Motor Speedway just up the street. And then you got COTA right down the road, which has hosted IndyCar races before. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of that racetrack either, but still, it's one of the nicest facilities in the world. But we're going to do another street race instead. But hey, that's popular right now, and IndyCar is pretty good at putting them on, so that's going to be a huge pickup for them, especially having the NFL or at least Jerry Jones involved there. Pretty neat looking racetrack from what I gather from the the artist renderings they've got going on. But yeah, IndyCar is returning to Dallas, and it's a street course, so maybe it'll be a big deal. You want it to be successful. I'm sure it will the first couple of years, but you know how these things go when you get a bunch of corporate entities and cities involved and all that shit.
Get the Cleveland airport back in it. You'll get me to that race.
Burke Lakefront, baby, come on. Come on. I love that track. I'm about to describe all the things I hate about NASCAR road racing, but just going 9 wide off of a runway. Oh my God, I'm so sick.
Well, here's more news that Rob, you have to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
You got a letter. You got a letter back.
Yeah, I got rejected by NASCAR. Whereas our friend
Papa H.
Yeah, no, it was actually Steve Phelps who sent me the email. So
what role did you apply for
some
again?
Sort of content thing. I don't know. I get these emails through Racer Jobs, which is a cool website that I believe Racing America has something to do with. Just to see what's out there, you know. I do love North Carolina, and there's a big place in my heart that wants to be down there. I got a lot of family and friends and shit. It's a second home. The Charlotte area is a second home for me already, so and it'd be fun to work in racing. So I don't ever expect that to happen, but I still get the job alerts, and one came across for a content creation position. It's not the first time I've gone for something like this, so I do have a portfolio and like a reel and all that shit, including bits of this show, which is definitely why I did not get the call back. I think we're pretty kind to NASCAR on this show, but True Love, you said it best.
Not this episode.
The idea that there was some people sitting around in a boardroom in Daytona listening to this show warms my heart. But yeah, they sent me a nice little rejection letter and said, though my resume and my work is impressive, which has got to be a template email. They've chosen to go in a different, less critical direction.
I mean, that's more than I got when I applied for a job there like 6-7 years ago.
I only bring this up just because I was shocked I even got an email back about that. So
they might have got like AI to listen to the podcast and sum it up for them, and they probably
too many F words.
Screwed it up big time, like they do our chapters every week.
That's true. But yeah, I will be remaining an exclusive host of this show, and you will not be seeing any content on NASCAR.com or their social media channels from Uncle Rob.
Just here and occasionally on Flow. That'll be it.
Once in a while.
Rounding out the news for this episode, we've got 2 more social media / content related news pieces. First up, in good news, the Uncle's Kenny show is going to be starting up soon. Kenny Wallace is filling in for Dale Jr. on the podcast this week, and he announced that he and Kenny Schrader will be getting their own podcast on the Dirty Mo Network, which I am definitely excited about, but also listening to today's episode of The Download with Kenny, I hope they have a producer there to keep those guys like moving forward properly, because as much as I enjoy Kenny, there are some times where he just kind of either rambles or kind of loses track of the topic, and
it's the best part.
He needs a little direction. I don't know. like I enjoy his like little coffee with Kenny skits and whatnot, and when he does shorter videos where he's just kind of rambling, but
talking about his wife's tits and shit.
Yeah, that stuff is fine. When he gets kind of rambling about racing stuff, you know, I'm definitely interested to hear what Kenny Schrader stories he has, because just that one episode that he did with Dale Jr. was absolutely amazing, where he tells the story about bringing Dale to the strip club.
Yeah. I mean, that guy's forgotten more golden stories than any of us will ever experience.
Yep.
Still out there actively racing like Kenny is, too. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. Y'all know we love Kenny Wallace.
Of course.
And y'all know we love Ken Schrader. So, put them together, and Kenny's just going to talk over the other Kenny. But, you know, it is what it is. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Schrader was already saying that Wallace has to take the lead, so I don't think anybody is surprised about that.
Yeah.
And then this one here, again, I didn't listen to it, so, you know, Rob and Ashley, you'll have to confirm this, but one of our favorite social media demons, Ultimate 23 Dragon, supposedly called into the to Door Bumper Clear and went on some sort of rant. So you guys got to fill me in on this because I didn't listen to it.
Well, let me ask you, True Love, do you think it was her?
I am like 90% convinced that it's her. Just because she starts off, you know, like any angry caller, but by the end, she like spazzes out and malfunctions, and like you can't really understand the end of it.
To which Freddie Kraft replies, "Jesus," and that's the only commentary on it. I agree. Awesome. I also. I'm in the 80 to 90% range and thinking that is Dragon finally emerging with the Dirty Mo Empire. Yeah, just again, like you said, it could have been any shrill screaming caller. They get those on Door Bumper Clear sometimes, but just the way that she breathes and just the rapid escalation, you know, it had to be, or at least they're related or something. But yeah, definitely.
If anyone wants to listen, I don't listen to Door Bumper Clear, but I skipped around and found it. It's at the 1 hour and 9 minute mark. So
okay, I was gonna ask because I'm now I have to go and confirm this.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm certain. I'm pretty certain.
pretty sure.
I don't know if it'd hold up in a court of law, but I'm pretty sure that's Dragon, who of course is a Hall of Famer in the DARF of the Week Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Which I guess it's about time to dive into that.
Yes, it is. This was a comment that you found this week in regards to that Bob Pockris, Richard Childress interview that he was posting all over his social media accounts. So take it away, Rob.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. I literally just came across a late edition here. I'm gonna have to after we get through this one. I'll read it out loud because you guys are gonna crawl out of your fucking skin when you hear me say this. Anyway, Bob Pockris was talking about the lawsuit proceedings, and you know, Bob in particular he's a real journalist, right? He doesn't take a side. When he does offer an opinion, it's very measured and well balanced, as you would expect from a journalist of Bob's stature. And I don't remember the exact context. I think he was just posting what was happening, and that NASCAR hadn't responded or something like that. And this is where
and just those clips of him talking to, like, literally just him doing his actual job, talking to people about the biggest news piece of.
You're right. It was the Richard Childress interview. Yeah.
Yes.
So Buckin' Bronco RC Motorsports responds, this is on Instagram, typical Bob out there, trying to stir up drama like I understand that he's really smart with the sport, but then he does stuff like this. Hell of a sentence right there to kick this thing off. Trying to stir up drama. Why didn't he just, Bob? In this case, why don't you... In this case, why don't you just go to NASCAR and say, look, these are my questions, and if people don't want to answer them, then you just walk away, and God, I understand, but no, you keep pushing to stir up drama. Come on, Bob, be better. The complete opposite of what people have been asking for. Like, that's not journalism to go ask the state what questions you're able to ask and get them approved. Like, that's not how this shit works. So yeah, that was real dumb. That was my DARF of the week until about literally 3 minutes ago. I believe, Natalie Decker, former truck driver, and not a great one, but whatever, that's beside the point. She is having a baby. She's pregnant. I think she's about halfway through her pregnancy, and I believe she's been posting about this. I didn't even catch the original post that led to this comment.
I already know what you're going to say. I already know, so go ahead.
AJohnTech84 on Twitter says, closer to halfway through that ice cream rather than pregnancy, ... Questioning these photos. Dad of 3 kids. Wife was much bigger at quote unquote halfway point. Hope everything's going okay.
Okay, that was not what I was. That was not the comment I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna be.
No,
I thought you were gonna be. You're gonna mention the one about where's your OnlyFans.
No. But Natalie did respond to this, which is every woman's body is different. I'm proud of my body that's making this little baby boy. Baby's healthy and I'm healthy, which is,
this guy's poor wife.
Yeah, my wife, because all women are, just floor model fucking. It's just the same. So yeah, that's actually my DARF for the week. I'm gonna put these guys both in a fishing boat with Ultimate 23 Dragon, and they're gonna have a scream off. Then we'll see. Then we'll see if all women are the same. Yeah.
Yikes. Well, I guess that brings us to the septic tank, and I actually can start this out one this week because Pennsboro had cars on track, which, like I said, I am planning on going down to probably just the Mason-Dixon 100. I don't think I'm going to go down for the other stuff, but I want to at least go down for the big race. And there are a handful of different guys that came out with late models, and I definitely saw modified there too that took laps on the track. And Devin Moran was the one guy that of note that I saw that he gave some interesting comments. He basically, he thought the track was okay. He wasn't sure if it's actually going to produce good racing, but he also was like, this track has always never been about the racing, more about the partying and stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny, but he did say it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Which that's not necessarily the type of thing you want to say, but he brought up the fact that his dad, even though his dad had won there a handful of times, he said Pennsboro is like the most dangerous track he ever drove on, and the track's taking shape. They're still getting a lot of work done.
They started putting up fencing as of a couple days ago, which is pretty cool.
Yep, and they were cleaning up the hill. So it looks like unless we have some crazy storms or whatever in the next couple weeks, that they should be good to go for the last weekend of October. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, they're gonna put a show on there, and it's gonna be. Who knows if the racing will be good or what will happen, but again, that's a racetrack that was far beyond dead, that if things go the way they seem to be, it's going to be back. And that doesn't happen all that often in these days.
Yeah.
You thought North Wilkesboro was crazy. This is 10 times the amount of unexpected, I would say.
Yeah, because, you've still got the West Virginia Motor Speedway right up the street that's been dormant the last couple of years, and this, if you guys haven't been to this part of the country, like West Virginia is, I don't want to say desolate, but there's just not a whole lot going on down there. So to see racing come back is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. Hopefully they bring the Hillbilly 100 back if this thing works. So speaking of racetracks that were not open for a while and are now back, High Limit Series went to I-70 last night. Brad Sweet picked up the win. Very cool to see that place open and running again. Big fast track. Tyler Courtney won the midweek High Limit Championship. Of course, Brad Sweet wrapped up his own title a couple weeks ago. So he'll be signing himself a nice check and a few nights here for winning his own championship. Good for him. I sound like I'm talking shit, but I'm not. They've got in my opinion, an exponentially tougher field to contend with, and that just shows you just how goddamn good Brad Sweet is at driving a 410. So congrats to him. About 3 nights of racing left in the season. They're going to Lucas Oil, and the season closes out this weekend at Texas Motor Speedway's dirt track. All that's going to be on Flow Racing. Over in the World of Outlaws, fog ruined night 1 of the National Open at Williams Grove. I don't know if you guys saw this. It looked like the fucking Langoliers out there. Like, you couldn't see anything. It was crazy. A lot of guys made it over the fence and into the trees, too. I can't remember exactly who it was, but there were several instances of guys finding the gap of the fence and just ending up out in the woods. Fortunately, nobody got hurt. But because of the fog, everything got moved to Saturday. A little bit of afternoon sprint car racing for you, which Buddy Kofoid did really well in. Picked up the prelim win on Saturday afternoon. Carson Macedo getting the big win there. David Gravel leads the championship going into the final 8 nights of racing here. He's about 50 points up on Carson Macedo right now. Donnie Schatz in third. I don't think anyone really has much for David Gravel at this point. It's getting kind of down to the wire here. But hey, 3 nights in Charlotte, a lot can happen, and I know Carson's pretty good there, so and so is David Gravel. So we're going to have a nice little Titanic battle going into the World Finals in Charlotte. Over on the Lucas Oil late model side, Jonathan Davenport picked up a big win at the Pittsburgher, and he's actually driving his Eldora car, which is called Eldora. It's pretty much the current Longhorn chassis version 1. He never really brings it out anywhere but Eldora, but since he's in the championship hunt and needed a good finish to establish himself as one of the favorites out of the 4, he brought that car out. PPMS is a really big half-mile track. It's super fast, not unlike Eldora. They're kind of similar, and honestly, the racing wasn't all that great at this one. It was a lot of freight train kind of shit. But Jonathan Davenport's really good at that, and he picked up the win. Devin Moran won the prelim night there, and they're definitely the 2 title favorites for the Lucas Oil Trophy there. No surprises there. RTJ's kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit, and Tim McCready is, though he made the championship 4, he's definitely pretty hit or miss in the Rocket 1. So I think this is going to come down to Jonathan Davenport and Devin Moran, especially, and then in Eldora in a few weeks, or not even a few weeks. That's like a week and a half from now. It's fucking crazy. Season's ending, folks. It fucking sucks. Mm-hmm. Over in the USAC world, Logan Seavey picked up a win at the Sumar Classic at Terre Haute. Fucking badass event right there. On the pavement side of things, Connor Hall is going to be taking over Carson Quaffle's seat at Junior Motorsports in the late model. That's not really much of a surprise, I guess. Connor has some money behind him, and that's a good ride. So I think he's definitely it's a good place for him to go. Connor's talented, so I could see some truck stuff in his future, but definitely I think he'll do some damage in the junior late model. We're talking about cars going over the fence at Williams Grove. Speaking of places that race cars shouldn't end up, we have one get into the stands.
That video is brutal.
It is crazy. Yeah. And I'll say this. This is at Lincoln County. Ponderosa Speedway in Lincoln County, Kentucky. I think it was like a crate late model or something like that. Just got sideways flipped and went directly into the grandstands. A few people got hurt. Fortunately, nobody was serious. If you see this video, it's fucking insane, but I only bring this up just to say this. A little word of advice to folks. Even if you're sitting in the grandstands, never turn your back to the race cars.
Yeah. Don't
Especially
stand
at a place like
next
that.
to the fence with your face buried in your cell phone either.
No.
Jesus.
Yeah, there was that guy who was checking his Facebook, nearly got his head taken off by a late
Never
model.
saw it coming.
But seriously, especially if you're in the pits, infield, down by the fence, just do not turn your back to the racetrack.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Always keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah. Yeah, real fucking dumb. But fortunately, no one killed there, and the driver was okay. But those grandstands, that car, and a few hot dogs definitely got crushed. So, RIP there. This weekend, we got some big racing going on. Again, Lucas Oil late models are continuing their march towards Eldora. They'll be running the rescheduled Jackson 100 at Brownstown. World of Outlaws are going to Lincoln this weekend, which is pretty cool, wrapping up their little Pennsylvania sweep. Cars Tour is going to be at Tri-County. The Smart Tour rolls into South Boston. If you like pavement modified racing, that's going to be a good show. Carson Lofton, currently your points leader there. He's only 20 points ahead of Luke Baldwin and not too much further ahead of Danny Bohm. Ryan Newman and Burt Myers rounding out your top 5 there. That's a nice little championship battle shaping up there. And I'm a big Carson Lofton fan, so I'm looking forward to that. And the big show for me this weekend, of course, is at Thompson Motor Speedway, about 20 minutes from my house. The World Series 150 is happening on Sunday. We have a wild points battle happening in the NASCAR Modified Tour. Despite the fact that there are low car counts, the top 3 in points are separated by 16 points, which is fucking crazy. We got 3 races left. 3 good ones at that. Of course, Thompson this weekend. They're going to North Wilkesboro after that, and then wrapping up the season in Martinsville. Also, Tri-Track Modifieds, the New England Super Modifieds. Both the Pass and Act Tours are going to be there this weekend. And your boy Rob is going to be sitting in turn 4 in his little lawn chair, probably high as a kite, trying not to pass out during the street stock features. So if you're out of Thompson this weekend, come and say what's up. Like I said, there is going to be a supply drop-off being set up by Tri-Track and Kyle Bonsignor. Very cool of them. For hurricane relief in North Carolina. And I imagine some of this will get diverted to Florida too. So if you are going to be there, keep that in mind. If you got some extra diapers or tampons or toilet paper or whatever else is on the list they have on the Tri-Track website, bring it on down and drop it off. I know for a fact that they're going to fill a trailer there, and we'd all love for you to be a part of that. But I guess that's the short track septic tank for this week. Like I said, I'll be at Thompson all weekend, and I've said it 5 weekends in a row, but I'm definitely going to be at the World Finals coming up here in about a month, and sounds like True Love is, and everybody else, and Brian, if we can get him down there, and fucking A. You got to do it. You just got to come on down. All these championship battles I just described, they're so good. They're so good. Come see him finish up. Plus, the big blocks are there, man. We got to see a big block race together, Brian.
Happy birthday to Brian in person.
That's true.
Yeah, and we'll actually get to go to Applebee's together, so that's very exciting. But
That's the most important part.
it is the most important part. But I'll go ahead and flush it down for this week. Again, short track season and racing season in general is wrapping up, so make sure you get out there while you can. The weather and everywhere but Florida right now is absolutely beautiful no matter where you're at. Mm-hmm. So if you got a short track within, I don't know, driving distance, make sure you try and hit it up and buy some popcorn and hot dogs and cold beers and have yourself a good time. And here comes the flush.
Well, Rob, there was actually one race that you left out of the septic tank, and that's one we're going to talk about here in a minute, and that is
Did I not mention Super Dirt Week?
You did not mention Super. It's fine. It gave me this good transition point because yes, as mentioned last week, it is Super Dirt Week in Oswego right now. I don't know where they're racing tonight, but I know there's racing in Oswego all throughout the weekend. This year I'm not going out. I was there last year. I'm just going to watch from home. But as of right now, the weather's looking good, unlike last year where the big main event got rained out.
They ran it on Monday or Tuesday, didn't they? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Which, yeah, I didn't bother driving back out for. But for this week's Video of the Week segment, we watched the 2 big races from the Super Dirt 94 week. The World of Outlaws, I forget the title of the race, but it was a 100, which is a 35-lap feature. And then the Wheels 300, which is essentially the Daytona 500 for big block modifieds. Like, this was the big race that everybody wanted to win if you were a dirt modified driver. Which the Syracuse race for the Outlaws was also a pretty big race too. I mean, it was the fastest track, I think, in all of dirt racing. At least that's what they said back in this video.
What the fucking slick as that place looked on the video, I would believe it.
Yeah, I mean, for those who never went to the Syracuse Mile, this was at the State Fairgrounds, and it was a long, flat, 1 mile sweeping track, very fast, very flat. But it was the place to be for. I mean, this was ran for like 40-something years up until, I don't know, I want to say 2015. I think was the last one, and then the fairgrounds tore down the racetrack, and now there's nothing there, which is really disappointing. There was supposed to be some sort of big replacement motorplex, but that never happened, and now the racing happens at Oswego, which is an asphalt track. And you know, as someone who grew up in this part of the country and you know, went to dirt modified races, it's still a little disappointing to see the biggest dirt race of the year run on an asphalt track. No offense to Stacy and everybody at Oswego. I mean, it's a great facility, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Imagine they're running the Daytona 500 in Atlanta. You know what I mean?
Basically.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah. But regardless, the video of the week this week was both of the features from 1994, and it starts off with the Outlaws. This was shown on the Prime Network, which I don't necessarily remember this station, but I mean, I think it was some sort of sports-specific cable channel that was in the 90s. Probably, I'm assuming in the Northeast, because I have found a few prime broadcasts over the years of like Busch races and stuff. So they definitely ran different motorsports throughout the years. And for anybody who watched any of like This Week on Dirt or any of the dirt broadcasts in the 80s and 90s, similar broadcast team here. You've got Larry Nuber and what the hell is his other name? Doug Logan. He was the host of This Week on Dirt.
I always love a good Larry Nuber sighting.
Yeah, he was just around forever. Up until I know he's not with us anymore. I can't remember when he stopped broadcasting, but
he passed away in like 2000, I think. I think he had like a brain aneurysm or something like. He died unexpectedly. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause it's not like he was that old in '94 here.
No.
But no, we start off with the champion Sparkplug Nationals. This broadcast, basically Sammy Swindell was like the fastest sprint car at the track for years and years. He held the speed record up until this particular weekend, where Billy Pouch set the world speed record in a fucking sprint car, like 145 miles an hour. It is crazy to think about how fast these cars were. They said they got up to 165 miles an hour in the straights, which, think about that in a sprint car, folks. Like, what do those things weigh? Like under 2,000 pounds? Going.
Much. Yeah. The power to weight ratio is fucking insane on these things.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts to see this. It's the Chevy Motorsports Hour here. And aside from this little Sammy Swindell video to start off the broadcast, we immediately go into an interview with Steve Kinzer, who, for those who don't remember this period of time, this was his last full-time season, or supposedly his last full-time season in sprint cars, because in 1995... In 1995, he took the Kenny Bernstein 26 Quaker State ride for a total of 4 races until he was let go. Those 4 races did not go very well for Steve Kinzer, and you can I feel like you can kind of get that impression watching this interview where he's just very pensive about his move to NASCAR. I forget who was talking to him, but the question is, so why are you leaving, Steve? He's like, oh, I don't know. I just got this opportunity to get in this car, and I've always kind of wanted to do it, so I'm gonna give it a shot.
Make some fucking money.
Yeah, and it's also funny because he was sponsored by Valvoline at this point, and gave that up to go drive the Quaker State car for, again, a total of 4 races. And I know he was back in a sprint car well before 1995 was over with.
Yeah.
The other quote, speaking of, will we ever see you in a sprint car after 1994? Well, I hope not. Well, Steve, I'm sorry your hopes did not pan out.
Yeah.
And then from here, we get Doug Logan with Sammy Swindell, who states it'll make his job a little easier once Steve Kinzer moves up to the NASCAR series. Then we see Andy Fusco with Billy Pouch, who is surprised that he's on the pole for this race. Billy Pouch was a legendary Northeast modified and sprint car driver, as evidenced by this video. But he was the only he was the best performing non-outlaw series driver in this field. Again, broke the speed records, was on the pole, had an absolutely amazing mullet, just
absolutely
really dog shit, just gross as hell, like
so
not
gross.
like today's.
And it just gets more gross as the video goes on.
It's
so many levels of disheveled.
Yes, this is not at all for those of us who now. I mean, I don't see the mullet as a fashionable thing, but it apparently is. This is not coiffed and combed and faded. It's just gross, like truly gross.
Greasy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he talks about how the difference of the mods and the sprint cars, and how much heavier and stable the mods are compared to the sprint cars. But he's on the pole, and we're excited to see what he does in the race. Before we move on to racing, we see a quick shot of Miss Dirt USA Motorsports in a Miller Genuine Draft go-kart. The first three rows of this race are just heavy hitter after heavy hitter. You got Billy Pouch, Andy Hillenberg, Sammy Swindell, Jack Haudenchild, Dave Blaney, and Steve Kinzer. That's your top six to start the race. This was apparently the fastest field in all of dirt racing history, which is kind of a crazy thing to think about. Like, I don't know how you calculate that with how diverse and spread out dirt racing is, but this was one of the fastest tracks around until it was gone. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but once the racing starts here, you'll see just how slicked off that racetrack is. And even the sound of the cars, it sounds like a NASCAR race. Because usually you'll watch a sprint car race and you hear the off-throttle time and them kind of like, pushing it in the corners and, just doing sprint car shit. And they're just not doing that here. It's just like pedal to the floor, like barely lifting the corner. They're not even really sliding in the corners all that much. It looks like an asphalt race, which is intense.
Yeah, it's a little more pronounced in the modifieds. Like they barely drift at all. I mean, the sprint cars a tiny bit, but not nearly as much as they would on a normal dirt track.
No.
We get the in-car camera with Billy Pouch, and then literally as they are approaching the green flag, Sammy Swindell's wing breaks and flips up. His car does a huge wheelie, and he decides not to fix it. Like, one of the fastest cars in the field, and his crew is like ready to go and fix the thing. He's like, nah, we're done. Like I know you can kind of do that with sprint cars, like fix your car and get back out there, but nope. He wanted no part of it. He was done for the day. Billy gets a good lead to start. Kinzer's staying there in fifth. Obviously Blaney and Haudenchild, they're battling. The cars kind of start off and get strung out pretty quickly. You see Haudenchild moving up. He's fighting with Hillenberg. Once the leaders start to get into lap traffic, that's where the little more experienced sprint car drivers like Blaney and Haudenchild can kind of catch up with Billy. Haudenschild's able to get past Billy, but then there's the first caution with Mike Hagenbottom getting a flat. After the caution, Pouch jumps back out again to a lead. There's an inset interview with Jack Haudenchild, who every time he's on screen throughout this race, he's very matter of fact. And that's one thing that I noticed. A lot of these sprint car drivers are definitely not great on TV. I mean, granted, now, back then, these guys didn't get near as much TV time as other forms of motorsports got, so that's
a lot of them
totally
aren't great
unexpected.
now. I'll have you know.
Oh yeah, well it's funny.
Much
So,
better.
speaking of that, past guest Mike, he plays the World of Outlaws PlayStation game, and he sent over. He won, I don't know, there was some win streak that he was on, and it was basically like a video of all these different drivers saying, wow, you won 10 races in a row. That's crazy. And they're all robots. None of them seem natural at all. It's very, very funny. They're just all so bad on camera.
Yeah, it's great.
And that's definitely true here with Jack.
Jack Haudenchild is just again, this top five throughout this race is just seeing those names on screen. It just really reminds you just how titanic this fucking field of drivers was back in the day.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's a competition caution at lap 17, which is halfway. It's a 35 lap race. They talked to Billy Pouch about setting the new speed record, and he goes, the car was comfortable. It wasn't scary or nothing. Every time Billy was on screen, I loved it. Just very, very cool.
The mullet's getting sweatier and sweatier every time.
Yep.
Sticking to his forehead.
They interview Haudenchild, and he's very matter of fact with where he's running in the field. Whereas they talked to Dave Blaney, who I found to be a little bit whiny. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but he was like, I can't pass, and the arrow's too much, and this thing and thing. I felt he was a little whiny every time he was interviewed throughout this entire video. Do you guys agree or no?
I guess I didn't notice that.
Okay.
I was just excited for Dave Blaney content.
Yeah, it's kind of how he was, I think.
I as someone who was only familiar with his or more familiar with his Cup stuff. I guess I never saw any of his.
I didn't notice
old shit like
anything
this.
too wild here, but I actually have Billy Pouch's greasy ass on my television right now. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Billy, they interview him next up, and I'm so bummed. I'm gonna have to see if I can find another broadcast of this race so the audio's better. But they jump to Billy, and the first question they ask him: how often in a car race can you have a cigarette halfway through? So that really got me excited.
That's good.
And they talked to Steve Kinzer, who he's not sure if he can win or not. He thinks he can, but it depends on the lap cars. From there is a recap of the small block modified race, the Phase 200, which was won by Danny Johnson. And then we go back to green flag. We see Andy Hillenberg and Steve Kinzer get together, and Kinzer drops back a few spots. Then we see Haudenschild, who's battling with Billy Pouch for the lead. He hits the inner cushion and ends up spinning into turn 2, and his day is done. And again, he's very matter of fact once he's out of the car and gets interviewed about what happened, and he's out of there. After that spin, there's another restart, and Steve Kinzer gets out of line, and he's back to 4th or 5th. So, we'll hear from him after the race about what happened. Dave Blaney is very fast, and he's starting to catch up with Billy again. Again, with he's just so much better in lap traffic than Billy is, and that was Billy's downfall throughout this race. Although, spoiler, it didn't stop him. From there, we're pretty much at the end of the race, and we see Steve Beitler really holding up both these guys the last couple laps, and Blaney is almost able to pass Pouch while trying to get past Beitler, but he is able to hold off Blaney and gets his victory, which I believe, this was the first non-Outlaws driver to win this race since 1979. And the quote from him after getting out of the car was, "The best part of this race is stepping out of the car in one piece when it's over." And obviously getting that check probably didn't hurt either.
No.
Blaney seemed a little bitter about not being able to pass, but when asked if he could have got him with a couple laps left, he said, "They did tell me it was 35 laps when we started," so that was his answer. Steve Kinzer thinks he could have won. He thinks he had the best car, but clearly he didn't, because he got loose more than once and did not get the victory. So I really enjoyed this race. It's not necessarily the most exciting compared to much shorter tracks, but at the same time, the racing was good, and all the interviews and everything were just very of their time, and I loved it. The whole broadcast I loved. So
Same.
Yeah.
moving on to the modifieds. Again, this is the big race for the modifieds. Starts off with a very cool little video of Bob McCready, the master of going faster. Probably one of the coolest nicknames in all of motorsports as far as I'm concerned. And they use a brief snippet of Master of Puppets while also having Wherever I May Roam by Metallica playing in the background, which I enjoyed. And it's
I also enjoyed that.
And there was to me, a very stark contrast in how good Bob McCready was on TV compared to all the sprint car guys who were arguably bigger stars in the motorsport world. McCready was so well spoken in the couple minutes he was on screen, and he talked about how maybe having some experiences with fans early on in his career where he wasn't necessarily proud of how he handled himself, and how he's changed that later on and become such a big fan favorite, which, if you were in the Northeast at this time, you knew, people had feelings about Brett Hearn and Billy Decker and all these other guys, but most everybody loves Bob McCready. And even in this interview, they talk about how he had a hurt knee, and he doesn't even care about that. He mentions other people that need your prayers. I forget what the story was there, but
yeah. He said that name. The guy's name was Roger Horvath, but I thought he said Roger Horbath, and I was like, what kind of name is that? But it was just me being half deaf. So sorry, Roger. Thoughts and prayers.
There's another little history video. So they both Dave Blaney and Jimmy Horton are in this race, and they're running for the same team, the Duchess Overhead Doors team. And they talk about how both of the guys are kind of at the top of their game in their respective series. Obviously, Blaney in sprint cars and Horton in modifieds. But in '93, they had moments that were really horrible that they'd like to forget about. Blaney was leading this race the year prior and blew a motor. And then Jimmy Horton was the guy that flew out of Talladega in '93 in one of the Cup races. But in '94, they're back to kick ass at Syracuse in the Duchess Overhead Doors team. Blaney, even though he's known as a sprint car driver, he did race modifieds from time to time because his dad has history in the modified world, and he grew up going to races with him. So that's why he still continued to run modified races from time to time. There is a very brief interview with Jimmy Horton, who has no hesitation that he's going to run down and beat his teammate, which, again, spoiler alert, he does. And then we see a video, an interview with Brett, who they call the corporate Jet Hearn, which he was one of the guys that always seemed to have pretty big sponsors. I mean, he was and still, because he still is racing today, one of the most successful modified drivers of all time. Oh, yeah. He'd already won 4 of these races in '94, and he won a few after this. He was starting 21st in this race, but he wasn't necessarily concerned because I think he said he won it the year prior after starting last. So he also said, compared to '93 when he won 38 races, he said a 24 or 25 race win season, which he had in '94, he considered that a bad season, but it still wasn't that bad in the grand scheme of things.
I was just looking for Mima during that interview.
Oh, yeah.
No, Mima was, maybe she was at that race, but not in the pits, unfortunately. Yeah. Much like many Northeast races, rain was an issue here and delayed the race quite a bit. They got a very late start and ended up finishing under the lights. Starting off, we've got Dave Blaney and Joe Plazak on the front row, with Billy Decker and Steve Payne in row 2, and then Bob McCready and Dickie Larkin in the third row. Billy Pouch is in row 4. My favorite, Kenny Tremont, is in row 15 out of a 48-car field. Kenny does not really get mentioned on the broadcast, but he did finish 5th in this race. I'll say that. We get on board with Billy Decker, Doug Hoffman, and Bob McCready throughout this race. Dave Blaney is very quick to jump out to a big lead, and he's also quick to pick up the lap cars. First caution comes with Joe Plazak blowing up his motor after starting second. That was the 4th motor he'd blown up that week, which is granted the motors weren't $20,000 like they are nowadays, but still a very costly week for the Canadian team. Jimmy Johnson's back there battling with Jack Johnson, or Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Horton's back there battling with Jack Johnson for 10th place, but he's very fast at this point in the race. Quarter of the way through, Dave Blaney's got a huge lead, and Bob McCready has no brakes. There's a caution out for Jimmy Chester, stopped on the track, and all the leaders come into pit, except for Steve Payne, who stays out there to overtake the lead. There is a brief 358 modified recap, which we already saw in the previous broadcast. Steve Payne starts off with the lead with Blaney behind him, but he doesn't hold that lead for long. We do get an interview with Steve Payne's crew chief, who thinks one stop's enough, and he thinks the track is cleaner because of all the rain. Doug Hoffman and Jimmy Horton get past Steve Payne, and they're chasing down Blaney. All of a sudden, Steve Payne is out of the race. Looks like he'd blown up, and then we see Luke Plant bring the caution out of lap 98. There's going to be a $10,000 bonus for the leader at lap 100. Dave Blaney decides to stay out and pit after lap 100 to get that $1,000 bonus, which unfortunately puts him behind as far as track position goes, and also puts Jimmy Horton back up near the lead. Under this caution, though, we see Doug Hoffman, another legend, getting wrecked by someone, which is very odd. That shouldn't happen under caution. Blaney starts out way in the back, but moves quickly back up to 7th place. Brett Hearn's back up to 3rd after starting 21st, but Blaney is able to move past him, and he's coming for Jimmy Horton. He's very far ahead, and then Blaney gets in a long battle with Danny Johnson, yet another legend, for second place. We see a couple interviews with Jimmy Horton's crew chief, Charlie DeAngelis, who looks very old. He's just like one of those old legendary guys who's just like happy to be there, it seems like. But he thinks Jimmy will be okay on fuel. There's another caution. Let's see, with Brian Stevens wrecking in turn 2. Dave Blaney is finally able to get past Danny Johnson for second place after the restart, but Jimmy Horton's got a huge lead. There is a caution with Craig Johnson spinning about 7 to go, which brings us to a green-white checkered situation. Jimmy Horton gets a jump and takes the victory. Blaney's just not able to catch up to him. After the race, I think Jimmy's interview, he could be more excited. I mean, granted, this isn't his first Wheels 300 victory, but you feel like he would be more excited in the car getting interviewed. But he does jump on the roof and celebrate a little bit afterwards. And you can very much tell after the race that Dave Blaney is not happy with where he finished, even though, again, second place. And they call his stay his move to stay out for lap 100 the $10,000 mistake. So yeah, that's the 94 Super Dirt Week big races. I really enjoyed these. I would love to find the 99 race that Tremont won. That's like one of the few that's not out there. And even at the Hall of Fame, where they have a bunch of VHS tapes of the races, that's like the one race they don't have. So if anybody out there has the 99 Eckerd 300, please put it online for me or send me the tape or something. But yeah, what did you guys think?
It's great. Another excellent little time capsule. And this was around the time that I started getting into sprint car racing. So again, like I said earlier, seeing all those names on the screen and those cars, and Andy Hillenberg in particular, who I guess he's the first guy I latched onto because he was the first Racing Champions sprint car diecast I bought. It's actually sitting right next to me here down in the bar. It was just cool to see all of this again because a lot of this footage, it's not lost necessarily. There's a bunch of it out there, but such a tight little professional package with all the awesome 90s graphics. And yeah, this was an awesome one.
Yeah, I thought both of these races were great. They really kept my attention, and especially with Dave Blaney being such a big part of both of them.
Yeah,
I was a big fan of his when he raced in Cup, but never really dove into his dirt stuff until later in life. So anytime I get a chance to watch old Dave Blaney, then
I thought he sounded way more like Ryan than I would have thought. I mean, granted, he's probably around the same age Ryan is now.
I didn't even think about that.
I spent a lot of time, like, during his interviews, just, like, staring at him, trying to figure out where Ryan came from, because he doesn't look physically anything like his dad until that very last interview where Dave is covered in dirt, his face, and it kind of contours his face a little, and then I could finally see, like, the similarities. But they do have kind of similar mannerisms.
Yeah. They do kind of both have big heads, too.
Yeah. Like physically large.
There's that.
But
yeah, definitely cool to see 410 sprint cars on a mile track. That's definitely something you don't see anymore, really. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get to see the USAC wingless guys go out there and do stuff like that, but yeah, definitely not a World of Outlaws show.
Yeah. But yeah, as we mentioned, the Super Dirt Week is going to be on Dirt Vision. We'll definitely be watching that Saturday night. The Outlaws are not there, so don't expect to see those guys. But yeah, check that out if you have the chance. And so next week's video of the week, I'm giving myself a little birthday present here. We haven't done a history of the monster truck racing video in quite a minute, so I want to wrap out 1988 here with the TNT season finale at Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky. This was honestly, I think the first ever TNT race I ever saw. I don't think I saw any other ones, at least in real time, but I remember this very specifically because there's a pretty, at least at the time, historic wreck in one of these races. So bringing that back for next week, that'll be on the Video of the Week playlist, and very excited about it. So that's for next week. But yeah, speaking of the next week, as Rob mentioned, he's going to be at Thompson Speedway. Ashley will be at the Roval. I'll be home because I'm all tuckered out from the last month of traveling.
Yeah.
But and getting older, that too. I'm tired. But yeah, you guys will be at races and I'll be watching them on TV. So you guys excited or what?
Oh yeah, man. World Series weekend is always great. Oftentimes it's very cold, which it's going to be cold this weekend, but it's going to get into the 60s and maybe even the very low 70s on Saturday. So that's a blessing because I've also frozen my ass off out there to the point where I felt terrible for like days afterwards because my body temperature got so low. But that's not going to happen this weekend. And again, if you're going to be at Thompson, any of you listeners out there, which again, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person from New England that has anything to do with this show, whether listening or whatever. But yeah, if you're there, come say what's up. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday. So, and I'm very excited for it to close out pavement. Well, actually, that's not true. I keep saying that Thompson's my last time going to the racetrack in New England this year, but the Haunted 100 at Seekonk is coming up at the end of October. So I got one more in me, which is good news.
Nice.
You'll be in Charlotte,
I'll
True
be at the
Love.
Roval Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to go with my brother. So we've gotten to go to a bunch of races together this year, which is great. But I've been to all the Roval races, but he has never been to one. And then SVG announced that he's running both races this weekend. And me and my brother are big SVG fans. So we're going to go watch him run and hang out with our buddy Kyle that was at Bristol with us the other week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, he'll be there and a bunch of other people, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Charlotte's always
anyone
fun.
else listening, it's going to be the Roval. Hit me up. Let me know.
Good stuff.
Yep.
And then back
Tim
to
Burry's
Charlotte.
going to be playing on Sunday. So.
Oh, that's great.
I will say, I saw a Tim Duggar hat online today that pissed me off because it was very cool. He ripped off the old Red Band chewing tobacco logo.
That is a good
And it's like, man, that's a fucking cool hat. It sucks that he's putting it out, but it's a cool hat.
Well, True Love will pick
Just
us
buy
all
a
around of them up.
Yeah, I'll get us matching Tim Duggar hats to wear to Applebee's.
Please don't do that. Thank you.
Oh, man. That's good stuff.
So yeah, with that, as always, follow us on Instagram at Meet Me at Applebee's and on Twitter at Meet Me at the Bees. I am Speedway Screams and all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is where you're going to be able to find the 120 shirts that I picked up over the last week, over the coming months. So check that out. And Mima, what are you plugging?
Not much.
Woohoo.
Follow along to see what I do in Charlotte, I guess.
Yeah.
Snake Mountain True Love.
It gets better every week, I swear to God.
Yep, I just love it. I love making you feel awkward.
Very, very public Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, Rob Motes _ unofficial on Instagram.
Mortician.
Rob Mortician .NASCAR.com. That's right. I'm going to work for them
checking
anyway.
on his birthday cake.
Yes. We better wrap this up so the paramedics can get in here. But yeah, Rob Motes _ unofficial on Instagram. My band is called These Wild Plains. We do have a show coming up very soon. We'll be in Cambridge, Massachusetts on October 18th. That's a Friday night with our good buddy Matt Charette.
Nice.
It's going to be fun. And then we're playing a wedding the next day, if you can believe that.
Oh.
Which is actually going to be super fun. Some old friends of ours that we met playing in bars, and yeah, just good folks. So we're really looking forward to that, hanging out with a bunch of fucking motorcycle people and getting shit-faced. So that's always a good time. But yeah, like I said, I'll be at Thompson. Come say what's up.
Cool. And with that, looks like our check is here. So thank you for joining us yet again at Applebee's, and we'll talk to you all next week.